Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for joining on today's webinar on mapping for business analysis workflows. My name's Meg, and I'm a solution engineer on the technical pre-sales team here at Esri Ireland. Though, as you can tell by my accent, I am originally from the States in Pennsylvania. So if you have any questions at all during today's webinar, please feel free to email or contact me after the webinar. You can see my email address on the screen, and we will be happy to share out the slide deck. Or you can go ahead and type them into the chat window, and we'll be sure to follow up with those via email. So whether or not you're familiar with Esri or you currently use and rely on our products, really excited to kick things off and share some business workflows and tools that you might not already be familiar with. Right, so I'll go ahead and just start with a brief agenda of what we're going to be covering today. So first, just going to go through a quick overview of Esri as a company and our platform. Following this, we'll go through a couple of the kind of workflows and benefits we've seen with our users of our business analyst products. From here, we'll go through a few of our business analyst web mobile workflows. We'll take it next to our desktop and more advanced workflows in ArcGIS Pro. And then from here, we'll look at some additional data sets and applications. Right, so jumping into just a quick overview of Esri as a company for those not familiar. So we are the global leader in GIS, or Geographic Information Systems software. Our ArcGIS product is used globally, and as a company, we have over 100 different offices worldwide and operate in 67 different countries. And in Ireland, we have offices both here in Dublin and up in Northern Ireland and Hollywood. So we're committed to helping our customers at all times, from government departments to county councils to commercial organizations. And we work across all industries here in Ireland as well. And our customers range from utilities to city and county councils to real estate and retail. So we're going to jump into a quick platform overview. For anyone not familiar, I think this is a really helpful slide to explain that. So on the left, you can see the different ways of utilizing Esri software, either on the desktop, your phone or mobile device, or on the web. Esri provides a software as a service solution called ArcGIS Online for your geospatial, data, and analytical needs. So we see the platform as a system of insight for your analytics, a system of record for your data stored in the platform from spreadsheets and databases, along with a system of engagement with maps and apps to be used across your organization. Jumping into some of the specific business analysis tools, so we aptly name these Business Analyst, and we offer these for both Pro and ArcGIS Online, meaning the tools can be accessed on your desktop, web browser, and via a mobile app. Some of the patterns we commonly see are things like location-based planning, site selection, customer segmentation, and report and infographic creation. And I'll show all these during the demonstration portion of the webinar. So Business Analyst is part of the ArcGIS platform built for analysts and commercial organizations to better understand the market they sell into and to perform spatial analysis to get the best picture of where to build and expand. The tool provides functionality for analytics, area planning, extensive demographic data, and report and infographic creation. Dive into each of these in a bit more detail. We'll go through the powerful analytics of the Business Analyst Toolbox and ArcGIS Pro in the demonstration portion of this webinar. With workflows for territory design and market penetration, the tool makes life easier for you when understanding market potential, assigning territory reps, and assessing new regions to work in. Through area planning, you can help understand the demographics around each of your sites by creating drive time trade areas, radius rings, or walk time trade areas. While we do work with companies of all sizes over here like Starbucks and Walgreens, we work with organizations that are much smaller, from small to mid-sized businesses all the way up to the enterprise. And we are seeing our business analysis tools being very heavily utilized in the real estate and retail sectors, working with companies even here in Ireland along the lines of our CBRE, Knight Frank, and countless others. So one of the big benefits of business analysts is the access to data. And with around 200 data variables for Ireland already built into the platform, it's easy to use this data in your analysis, then either create your own or run Esri's pre-configured reports. So this data includes things like demographics, so population, age, gender, unemployment, and income, along with market data on annual spend totals for a variety of different categories, including food and beverage, recreation, personal items, or home improvement. We also ingest other data like consumer segmentations, traffic counts, human movement, and footfall traffic data. And the data can be as granular as small areas in Ireland and lower super output areas in Northern Ireland, all the way up to the entire country. So I've hit a bit on the importance of performing the analysis side of business analyst. Even more so is the ability to easily and cohesively share and distribute the results. And you can do this with the built-in infographic and report creator in Business Analyst, where you can add graphs, charts, images, and other information to create professional, interactive infographics and reports that can be shared online or as a PDF or Excel document. Right, so going to start the demonstration portion of today's webinar by going through a few common workflows in Business Analyst web app. I've recorded a couple of videos of workflows that I'll be talking through to display various functionalities. I'll start with the web interface, then jump to smart mapping, which is a quick and easy way to qualify areas in and out based on a certain set of chosen criteria. Right, so if you're not familiar with Business Analyst, you'll see that the interface is similar to that of ArcGIS Online. We'll start with a quick run through of functionality. First, we can head up to the top left and select the Add Data tab to add data to our project from either a web map or layer, an Excel spreadsheet or shapefile, or our own unique custom data setup. Next, the Create Maps tab allows us to either create a color-coded map or perform a smart map search. And this functionality I'll be demonstrating shortly. The Define Areas tab allows us to create a site around a specific location with either drive times, walk times, or radius rings. It also allows us to select a specified geography, such as county level, or we can go ahead and create our own area by drawing polygon. Next, the Run Analysis tab allows us to run a suitability analysis, which I'll actually be demonstrating in ArcGIS Pro, but it can be done in the web app as well. Additionally, we can run a void analysis, and this tool enables us to understand what makes certain areas successful, then determine either the deficit or surplus of, say, existing coffee shops in one polygon compared to your reference area. Finally, the Share Results tab enables you to quickly create a story map for your proposed sites, and that can be shared publicly or within your organization. You can create a PDF or image right of the current map, or you can go ahead and share your map and layers with your ArcGIS organization or specific groups. Just like in ArcGIS Online, you'll see we have the ability to adjust our base maps. We can also access tools on the right here to zoom in and out, and we'll see the different geography regions that we can zoom in and out to. We'll jump back into the Smart Mapping functionality. This tool is built in to very quickly qualify in and out specific areas based on up to 5 different data variables. So you see we've navigated to Create Maps, Smart Map Search, and now we'll go ahead and get started with the tool and select our variables. So originally this will take you to a screen with the standard data that's already in the platform. You're also able to set up your own data, or if other people are sharing data with you, you can use that for the analysis here in Business Analyst Web. So for this example, I'll go ahead and select a couple of different variables. So we'll look at unemployment population, we'll look at upper secondary education, and then we'll go ahead and grab purchasing power as well. So when we hit apply, we'll see sliders show up on the left-hand side of the screen. And when we adjust these, we're seeing different areas and regions will qualify in and out. As you see, those that no longer meet the criteria are automatically removed from the map. So from here, we have the option to save our criteria, change our variables, view our results in a table or a chart, and then we can export these results to Excel for further analysis. All right, so next up, I'm going to go through infographic creation and site evaluation in Business Analyst Web. So you can see, similar as we'll see in Pro, we have these tabs at the top of the page here. Our home, which is where we create new projects, our maps tab, and our reports. Underneath reports, we have the options to run infographics and reports. We can run comparison reports, which allow us to look at 2 different sites and pull those reports side by side. Or what I'll demonstrate next is the building of infographics or reports. You'll see here, these are pre-configured Esri templates. All templates you create will reside under My Templates, or you can share templates. But we'll hop here to blank templates and just go through the process of creating your own. So really easy interface to use here. You can see there's no coding involved. You can go ahead and add different elements. You can add images, an infographic, a table, a map, or really neat features the nearby, which will pull different points within your study area of interest. From here, we can also do things like adjust our theme settings. So we can go ahead and change our color scheme, we can change our text, and then we can save that theme. So you can add the colors that match your organization. You'll have that set up for each time you go ahead and create. So now I'm going to do a site evaluation and run an infographic right here within the web app. So I'll define an area, and I'm just going to hand draw a polygon here. See, we have the option to create a polygon, or we can freehand it as well. So now that I've created this polygon, we'll see a pop-up where we can either run an infographic, a report, or if we had another site, we could run a comparison report. I'm going to run an infographic here. And we'll have a couple different options once this infographic runs. So you can see here is one I've created, a community profile for Ireland, and it's pulling data, again, that's already in the platform, so really simple to do. You'll see that it's interactive, so as I hover over, we can see things more like a percentage breakdown here of the different data variables. What's important here is we can share. So we can share the infographic in our organization, or we can export it as either a PDF, an image, or a dynamic HTML that can then be embedded. Or you can also print directly from the web app here by clicking the small print icon in the top right. All right, so now that we've seen the functionality of Business Analyst on the web, we'll move on to more advanced workflows in ArcGIS Pro. But do want to keep in mind, it is important to note that some of the functionality that we've seen and that I'll be demonstrating is kind of cross online and desktop, so can be completed in either tool. All right, so I'm going to start off by introducing the Business Analyst Toolbox in ArcGIS Pro. But for those of you who aren't familiar with Pro, you can see the interface here. You'll notice an easy to understand tabular format. And in the webinar today, what's going to be most important will be our content pane on the left-hand side. You'll see my data and layers as they're created. We'll also be using the variety of different business tools for analysis. So important to note for any current Business Analyst web app users on the webinar, this is a separate product, so the desktop and online versions do require separate licensing. So to jump in, you can access the Business Analyst tools in ArcGIS Pro in one of two ways. First, you can navigate up to the Analysis tab, then click on Business Analysis here, and we'll see our different tool options. Or we can access under the Geoprocessing pane, under the Toolboxes tab, then navigate to Business Analyst tools. So Business Analyst for Pro includes a variety of different tools, again, as I mentioned, some of which are similar to those in Business Analyst Web, but with increased functionality. So I'll start with what may be a familiar tool, which is going to be creating a color-coded layer. We'll find this under the Analysis tab in the Business Analyst toolbox. When I click on the tool, we'll soon see the option to add in different classification variables. So by clicking the small plus icon, the data browser, similar to that we've seen in Business Analyst Web, will appear. And you can see that we're going to be pulling data from ArcGIS Online from the portal. And for this example, we're going to be looking at the UK. So you can see I have that set as my data source. I'm going to go ahead and create this color-coded layer based on 2019 total population. Can then adjust the layer's name, decide how many color categories we want to break the population into, then go ahead and select Run to create the layer. So I have the layer created and I'm going to open that on the map now. And what's really nice is that once the layer is created, you'll see it's automatically created for all of the different geography levels supported by Business Analyst, which we can see here. And then as we zoom and pan on the map, it'll automatically update to the different geography level that we've zoomed into here to postcode districts. And we will be using this layer throughout the analysis. So next up, we're going to jump into the territory design and management tools in ArcGIS Pro. To start with a brief overview of those, so businesses, strive to optimize territories to make the workforce more efficient. So these can be territories representing a host of different activities and workers, such as sales executives, repair engineers, or consultants. Territories can be created in a variety of different ways, based on equal area, drive time, or population. So for this example, let's say I work for a grocery retailer and I want to expand into Great Britain. So I want to understand how I can divide the country into 5 territories. So I'm going to start with a territory solution based on population for the whole of Great Britain, and then another based on both population and sales volume for a specific sample area that we might be looking to expand into. So we'll start by selecting the New Territory Design Solution button under the Business Analysis dropdown. For our input features, we'll select the population by postcode color-coded layer we've just created. We'll give our territory solution a name, select an ID and a name field, then go ahead and hit Run. From here, we'll now see a new tab at the top of the page for Territory Design. And under here, we'll go in and click on the Add Variables button. We'll see we've inputted our territory solution, selected default levels, and then for the variable, we're just going to be looking at population for this example. Go ahead and select Run there. So next, we'll go ahead and click on Balance Variables. So I'm basing this solution on population, so I've given it a weight of 100. But say we wanted to add in other variables, we could do so and then adjust the weights accordingly. After we click on Run, we'll go ahead and click Solve for our territories. We have the option here of deciding how many we'd like. So again, gonna stick to 5 for this example. Right, so I've performed that now and pulled up the territories on the map. So you can see we've created 5 based on population. So say we wanted to divide this up between our 5 reps, we now have a solution. In addition, constraints, such as maximum driving distance, can also be added to the territories. And this can help to ensure that the territories are accessible and manageable to each of your reps. From here, we can dive into the solution and look at it as a chart with ArcGIS Pro's chart creation. You can see we can adjust our chart on the right here and then hover over to see the population for each territory. I'll close out of this and now look at rerunning the tool, but for a specific sample area. So here we're going to be using, again, both population as well as total average spend. So I'm going to add my store locations and customer data to the map. And to explain this customer data, so have this simply in an Excel spreadsheet with the spend data, can perform a spatial join to the postcode district geography, then be able to go ahead and create this territory solution based on spend. So I'm going to pull up first territory solution based on population, then the same type of solution, but this time based on spend. So you can see the territories are quite different. One way to visualize this quickly is with the swipe tool. So you can see, again, quite different here. So it's important to show that what you base your territories on will certainly make a difference. And when it comes to things like ensuring equal balance for potentially sales representatives, you're going to want to make sure you have those territories balanced in the best way possible. All right. So next, we're going to take a look at the market penetration tools. Right, so here we're going to calculate market penetration rate per postcode district. Again, we're going to base that off of total spend. So you can see I've stuck with my same sample area here with my population layer. Again, having that visualized with the darker red being areas of higher population compared to the lighter yellow. Running the market penetration tool here, you'll see we've added those postcodes as our input features, our ID field. We're going to base our market penetration on total population, but we could change that to households or any other variable. It will ask specifically for input customer features, which is pretty easy here to know what to add. So we'll add that customer data, and then we're going to weight that based on average spend. Go ahead and run the tool here, and now you can see we have that market penetration layer pulled up. So this gives us an indication of areas with a higher market penetration, a helpful indicator of where to potentially place a new store. For example, in areas that may have less customers, but the customers may spend more on average. This also gives us an indication of merchandising techniques. For example, selling higher priced products in areas with higher spenders. All right, so moving on to one of my favorite tools in both Pro and online is a suitability analysis. So going to run through the workflow now here in Pro. And for this example, we're going to stick with our sample area, but let's say we're that grocery chain, and within our sample area, we're assessing 5 potential sites for new locations. So to start, we'll need to decide on the locations we want to analyze, along with the data we want to pull into our analysis. I have data on the following. First of all, we'll pull up proposed sites. So let's say we've identified proper zoning for 5 potential store sites. I've collected the addresses of these points in an Excel spreadsheet, along with the number of parking spaces at each location. I've added this into ArcGIS Pro, then geocoded onto the map. But as an alternative, I could use the Business Analyst web app on my mobile phone to record this information, then bring the layer into ArcGIS Pro for analysis. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add my competitors layer of competing grocery stores symbolized based on their logo colors. Finally, going to go ahead and add in the customer layer of my customer points with their average spend. So we want to look at a 10-minute drive time around each grocery store. So we're going or proposed grocery store. So we'll set up our trade areas based on that drive time for each site. We'll access under the trade area toolbox under generate drive times. We'll go ahead and select our grocery store proposed locations as our input features. We'll use driving distance, but you have a variety of options here. So you can see we can even look at rural driving time, trucking time. We can also decide with our network parameters if we wanted to look at drive time during particular times of day based on different traffic patterns, say potentially rush hour. Go ahead and run that tool here. And next, we'll pop under the Business Analysis button to set up our suitability layer. And for those input features, we'll use that drive time layer created. So now we can go ahead and perform our suitability analysis, which I've performed here, and I'm going to add that layer to the map. Again, you can see at the top, we now have a tab for suitability analysis, just like we did with the territory design tools. Makes it really easy to use and access. And on the left is where we're going to go ahead and add criteria. They can either be data variables from the data browser, fields from our input layer, or separate point layers. If I click on suitability criteria, you can see the criteria I've added. So I'm going to go through that and explain kind of the thought process behind that. So starting with the 2019 Food and Beverage Index to see if it's above or below the national average. And I've pulled this from the online data browser. So this is market spend data that's already in the platform. So quite valuable to have here. Next, we're going to pull that parking spot. And what's neat here is we have the option to change how we want that to influence our analysis. So we can either set those up to have a positive influence, the more parking spots, a negative influence, or ideal. So let's say we know the ideal number of parking spots to facilitate customers, but reduce traffic congestion is 10. So I can go ahead and insert that here, or we could change it to a threshold if we were so interested. Next, we can go ahead and add straight line distance to competitors. So I've added that here as the straight line distance in kilometers with an inverse, but we could also do that as the drive time distance to competitors. And finally, going to go ahead and add that average customer spend. So weighting the customers on their spend and going to show that as a positive influence. What's neat here is we can kind of play around with this and go ahead and adjust the weight of each of our criteria. So you'll see as I do that, on the fly, the map is going to automatically update and readjust that suitability score and analysis. I can pop back over to the layer and go ahead and open a chart for it as well. So you can see here's a comparison of our final scores. So each site has been given a suitability score. So we can see which potential store performed the highest. All right, so from here, I'm going to walk through the site evaluation tool. So showed this again in the online version, but going to show what the tool looks like here in Pro. All right, so now that we've identified the potential site to build out, we're going to kind of do a deeper dive and essentially enrich it with even more data. You can see to start, I've added aerial imagery as my base map, because if we did want to do a deeper dive on this one site, we could see what the area looked like. You can very much tell that I am just using dummy data for this project here. So we'll zoom out here. And now we'll navigate up to the Analysis tab, Business Analysis, and the Evaluate Site tool. Really nice tool, walks you through step by step. Couple different options here. We could just select a specific point. We could locate based on the world geocoder, or we can go ahead and do this layer search. So we remembered that store D performed the highest. So we can select that. You can see that in green here. Next, we can go ahead and add either radius rings or drive or walk time buffers. So I'm going to add 3 radius rings here in kilometers. And then next, we have the ability to run an infographic, a report, and to enrich the data or enrich the layer with additional data. So I'm going to pull a bit more data here from the online browser. So we'll go ahead first and add in household totals. And then we'll go ahead and look at income as well, just to get a better picture before building or choosing a potential site. You can see here we'll have the option, so any infographics you've created in the web version will show up here in Pro automatically. So we'll see our own templates as well as Esri's pre-configured ones. And we'll select a report to run here. We'll just do Esri's pre-configured UK summary report. So now that I click finish, a couple things are going to happen. So we'll see the site is going to have, it's going to essentially create the site, and we'll see those radius rings show up on the map. Next, we're going to see the infographic pop up, and it's going to run right within Pro. Then we'll also see the summary report pop up as well. So we're going to pop back to that summary report. So I have it here pulling as a PDF. But we can also have this as an Excel document too, so you can have that data in Excel. And as you can see, we have our data for our 5, 10, and 15 kilometer radiuses. All right, so finishing up then with the kind of demonstration portion of the webinar, and just going to go through a few additional applications and data sets for Ireland. So just going to start with some examples. So top of mind at the moment with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, we can go ahead and create both infographics, and then we can share these into story maps that can be used for emergency response and for healthcare planning. So you can see here, we've actually created a story map and gone ahead and embedded infographics into them here. And you can see we can pull things like health data if that's available, or we can pull data that, again, is available directly within the platform, and some important statistics, especially in the current situation. So going to look at a couple additional data sets, and some of the views I have here of these just to see what they look like within the Business Analyst tool, so just kind of important to get that feel. So going to start with planning application data, which is wonderful and publicly available data on the status and type of building project for all of Ireland. So it's extremely valuable across different types of organizations, particularly we're seeing in real estate and planning. You can see what this looks like here, and you will have, all of your attribute information when you click on it, when you add that layer into Business Analyst. So next, we can go ahead and see our air code data. And so nice functionality is that anywhere within the ArcGIS platform, you can search directly by air code. So it makes it easy to find specific addresses with higher accuracy. And then finally here you can see Esri's ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World. So this is essentially a searchable database of curated Esri-approved content available to ArcGIS users. So you can go ahead and search by keyword here. I've searched by Ireland, and then we can narrow it down into different categories. We can look at imagery, boundaries. This people option here will provide some of the demographics that we've been seeing. And from here, moving on to some other data. So we have a variety of different data sets that can be ingested into the platform. So some of the kind of big ones we're seeing at the moment, starting with human movement data. So this is derived from mobile cell phone counts and data. And it helps us to understand the flow of human movement at different times per day in different areas. And this can either be, for larger regions, or it can be very specific and granular if you're potentially assessing one particular mall, shopping center, or development area. I'll pop down here to consumer segmentation. So consumer segmentation data essentially breaks consumers into various different categories. So it really aids in market understanding, for looking at potentially younger individuals, older individuals, getting a better snapshot and a fuller picture of, different qualities that those individuals might have. And then finally, down to our last one here, going to be traffic counts. So this is data on number and speed of vehicles. So again, kind of similar to that human movement, we're seeing where, there might be more cars driving by. So it might be a more opportune spot or site for a new location. Right, so thanks everybody so much for attending. It looks like we're wrapping up a little bit early, so giving everyone about 5 minutes of their day back. For any questions that were asked during this webinar, I will be following up with those via email. You can see my email address here, so if you weren't able to ask a question, please feel free to reach out or connect with me on LinkedIn. If you did have any further questions from today's webinar or were interested in seeing anything in more detail or specifically, happy to be in touch and provide additional demonstration there. We will be sharing the webinar online once we have the recording up, or if you do need it sooner, feel free to reach out and can share the slide deck as well. So that's all for today. Thanks everyone so much and have a great rest of your day.